Hi everyone, this is Mindy, and today's video is part of a video hop celebrating the April 2023 release from Altenew. There are giveaways a part of this video hop, so I will have that information listed down below in the video description, how you can enter and what's up for grabs. And I will also have a link to the next person in the hop linked down below as well. Now, on to the card projects. So, a lot of what I'm doing today is going to be die cut layering, which I've been doing quite a bit lately. And there are some new layering dies that Altenew has released that I had a lot of fun with. They are beautiful and go together real easily. And be sure to stick around to the end because I'll have more cards to share with you that is a part of this release that I just didn't get a chance to film. So one of the new products I'm using today is a bird bath, and this is the layering die set. Here's a look at what that is. It also shows you on the packaging how these layer together. So I will be using that today. And my favorite is this chestnut tree. It is so beautiful. And I can see this being used throughout the entire year just by changing up the colors. So I really love this. I actually think I have 3 cards that I created with the chestnut tree. And then we have the wrought iron gate, which is a beautiful, intricate die. Now, these I did die cut and glue together off screen because they were uh, pretty detailed. So I did that on my own. So here's a look at that die cut out of brushed gold and then just some white cardstock. So I'm going to start with the bird bath. So here I just have the main dies laid out for the bird bath, and I'm using the images that's on that product guide to know which layer kind of goes where. I have it laid out where that main layer is going to be the base piece, it's the darkest. Then we have the medium, and then I have a light color. Now I'm doing these all in gray, and I'm going to layer these together. It is really helpful to have a liquid glue with a fine tip on it. Any type of liquid glue would work. I'm using Barely Arts glue right now, but there's also the Gina K Designs in a fine tip bottle. Anything with a fine tip really does help to get into some of these smaller areas. Now, I'm just working on a grip media matte surface from Tim Holtz. That's just so I don't get glue all over my surface. I started out with that base layer that's in the darkest gray, layering on my medium color of gray to kind of, you can see how we have those openings in there to give the shadow looks. And then my lightest pieces. This is, I think, like a fog cardstock. And the guides on the back of the packaging really are helpful. I referenced that a lot to know exactly where to place these. Now, even though this does seem quite detailed, it really does go together quick. And once you do one, you can really catch on to do more, and it goes together pretty fast. So after I have all these pieces on there, I do place a heavy block on it and let that sit for a minute or so to make sure my layers are all secured down. And then I'm going to set this off on the side and work on the birds. Now, there are 3 different, I guess, positions of birds. And how do I explain this? So each grouping is one bird. So I will need to die cut each grouping from about 3 different shades of cardstock. I went with a bluebird. So each one was die cut 3 times. Some of them was die cut 4 because it has a little piece for the feet or the beak. So this first bird that I'm doing is the bird that looks like it's kind of swooping down. And I really went off of the packaging for this, where that base layer was the darkest color, the body was the medium tone, and then that wing is the lightest tone. And then I have some yellow cardstock for the feet. So that one, I follow the packaging. Now here is the next bird. This one is super cute. I think this is my favorite bird out of all 3 of these. There's just something about it that was so sweet. So once again, I have the 3 different shades. You can do these in any colors, mix and match. It was just easier for me to stick with one color group for right now. And then I'm working on this last one. So you have a bird swooping down, you have a bird that's kind of facing towards the left, and a bird that's facing to the right. And this last one really only has about 2 layers in it, 3 if you count the little beak. Now, since I had all of these pieces left over, I did them the way the packaging had showed, but I thought, why not just go ahead and use all my other pieces and just mix and match? And that way it may not be really correct, but they're still super cute. I'm using all of that cardstock that I used, And now I have this variety of birds that I can use on any of my card fronts. So my birds are done, my bird bath is done, and I already have an iron gate put together. So I decided to put those three pieces onto a card front I thought would look really pretty. And I'm going to ink blend a background. I grabbed Starlight ink, which I didn't realize how intense this color is. But I started off, I'm using the large flat blending brush from Altenew. And you can see I'm like just barely touching the cardstock at first because it came in super bright. It's gorgeous, gorgeous color. I just didn't realize at first how dark and how bright that was. So I added a little bit at the top so it has kind of an ombre effect. And then I cleaned my work surface and I went down to the bottom and I'm adding Forest Glades green. Now with this, I'm going to blend up towards the blue, but I'm not going to overlap. Then I'm going to take some white paint. Any type of white paint will work. I mixed it with a little bit of water and I'm going to add splatters to my background just for a little interest, kind of help break up all that color a little bit. And I don't know why when I try to do splatters, I get more all over my work surface than I do the actual card. So whether you're just tapping your paintbrush or flicking it off a block, whatever works for you. Now I'm bringing in the wrought iron gate that I have die cut from brushed gold cardstock. And I have both pieces there, so I know exactly where to place these. When I'm placing my liquid glue, I am definitely going around the outer edge of the gate on the back side here, and then also hitting it with in the bigger parts on the back. So I didn't put glue down on every single area, just the main ones. And then I'll set something heavy on that for a minute and let it sit. Now for the bird bath, I am adding some thin foam squares to the back of that to place it in the front of my gate. And I'm also going to add the birds to this. Now with the birds, I'm using one foam square. I'm just going to make sure that that foam square is up, not on the bird bath, but kind of up above it. So it comes out pretty level with the bird bath. I'm placing my birds on there, and it's at this point I kind of wished I would have done maybe a rainbow assortment of birds because the blue background kind of, I don't know, I feel like my birds got a little lost in there. Now, for the sentiment, this is off of the Delightful Day stamp set. There is a coordinating die for the sentiment, so I added some foam squares to each end, liquid glue in the center, and then added that towards the bottom of my card. Now, I did trim the panel down to 4 by 5 1/4 and added it to an A2 size card front, but I felt like there was just something missing up in the top there, and I felt like my birds were getting lost. I still absolutely love this design and how it came out, but since I had some extra pieces, I'm going to go ahead and create one more card using these same products. So once again, I'm going to ink blend a background, except this time I'm using Coral Berry at the top, which is one of my all-time favorite Altenew colors, and also Sunkissed. These are I love these two combined together. So I added actually some iridescent shimmer spray to the background, just some flicks of it, and added the wrought iron gate that I die cut out of white cardstock. Now I do have these layered together. So there's two of them layered together to kind of help add dimension to the front of the card. Added my bird bath and my birds. Now this time I added more birds, which do stand out from that pink background a little bit. And I think it helps that my gate is white. And then I have a sentiment again from the Delightful Day stamp set. So here are the two cards side by side. I do love them both. I kind of have a Heavenly Gate feeling coming from these cards, especially the one on the right. And I still had another extra bird left over, so I added that to the very top of the gate. And I feel like that kind of helped fill in that empty space that I felt was up there. Next, I'm going to create some cards using this chestnut tree. I just love this tree and it is really easy to put together. So the first thing I did was I picked out 3 different shades of cardstock. I have some in green, purple, and pink. I thought would be just a really fun assortment to do. Now, there is a really neat little trick that Altenew has added to this to help you line these layers up. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm grabbing the darkest color pieces of cardstock in my 3 groupings, and I'm going to place that or put that in a pile with the base layer, which is going to be the darkest piece. Then I went through, grabbed my medium shade, added that dye to that pile, and then my lightest shade that'll be in the front. And that I all was able to figure out referencing the packaging. So to start layering up our tree, I was just pointing there, it looks like a little keyhole that is on our tree and it's on all of the pieces. And you're going to use kind of that little keyhole to line up your die cut pieces. So you're going to start with your darkest color of your tree, your base in the back, and add your tree branches to the front, lining up that little keyhole down on the bottom. A little might be a little hard to see on screen because it's kind of small, but it's definitely noticeable in person. Then I brought in my medium shade. Once again, I lined up that keyhole. And then we have the lightest shade of cardstock. Now, at first, I was confused which die was the front and which one was the middle. The way you can tell is the lightest color that's going to go in the front has these loose pieces to it. Everything else is all together in one piece. So I started with that first loose piece that has that keyhole in it and lined it up. Then I brought in the other part, and some of these pieces do fit onto the tree like a puzzle. So I'm also looking at the tree. And then you have your second loose piece, and that's going to cover that keyhole area. So it looks like you just kind of magically line this up when really we had that keyhole as a guide. So that is my green tree. So gorgeous, would look good in so many shades of green. Here is the purple one, so it kind of has a magical feel to it. And then here is my pink one, which I absolutely love these two. Now, I can see these being in fall colors. I mean, just the scenes you could create with this one die would be amazing. Now, for a card front for the trees, I'm going to use a new embossing folder. This is the Rolling Hills embossing folder. And I just have a piece of white cardstock. I believe this is my Hammermill cardstock, so it's a nice smooth cardstock. And I started out by placing my tree on the front just to figure out which part of the embossing folder I want. And then I placed my cardstock inside and ran that through my die cut machine with the sandwich recommended by my Spellbinders Platinum 6. So here's a closer look at the detail that that provides. It has lots of hills in the background and some trees. So I'm going to add some color over this. This is Coral Berry once again. And with the flat blending brushes, which is one of the reasons that I love them, is using that flat brush, the raised areas are really going to catch that ink and kind of highlight those embossed areas. And the rush just kind of has some soft color to it. Now, here's another background I did with that same Rolling Hills embossing folder, and I blended on, I think it was Forest Glades, the green ink, and I like those too. So I kind of played around with a couple different ideas with this. Now I ended up going for a monochromatic look, so I just matched up the trees to the background and finished it off with sentiments from the Delightful Day stamp set and cut out with the coordinating die. So here's a final look at the card projects that I completed in the video today, but I do have some more card projects that I completed kind of off on my own. I just didn't have time to film everything. So this next card is using that chestnut tree and then also the Sunrise in the Park stamp set, which has some beautiful silhouette images in it and also its shadow. So if it was casting a shadow on some of these images, definitely check that stamp set out. It's really cool. This next card is using the Watercolor Roses stencil. So this is a one layer card and I used my stamp wheel to do the ink blending with my small blending brush and then stamping a sentiment over the top. Beautiful arrangement on that. And then I have the Delightful Day stamp set. So this one is really unique. It is designed for the stamp wheel. So all of the images are kind of on one photopolymer piece and meant to be rotated. So I created multiple flowers to arrange on the card, but I only used two for right now and saved the other two for future projects. Now, there are more products available in this release. These are the ones I had time to create with and play with in the video, and I absolutely love them. I hope you enjoyed today's video and inspiration. I will have all of the supplies listed down below in the video description and over on my blog as well with the pictures of all the cards that I created. Don't forget to hop on over to the next stop, which will be linked down below in the video description. Thank you so much for spending time with me today.